ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to Sox on Tap.
Tony, my first reaction is just, fuck yes, let's go.
Sox versus the Twins. That's where it all starts. It all starts taking care of business in-house in the Central Division.
That's right, I'm a meatball.
You got to bring that top button swag, baby.
It is always great to beat the Cubs.
And I'm a homer, so I always say they're gonna. Dallas Keuchel Lamson got some beards that you should be afraid of.
What everybody said when he gets out there, it's me versus the other guy, and I'm going to beat him. So I just love that mentality. It's cool and fucking tough.
Steve, would you say that Tony is mad online?
I would definitely say that.
The White Sox winner.
White Sox fans, welcome in to the Sox on Tap postgame show. It's Jonnie and NWI. I am back on the mic. Got my guy NWI Steve with me. Steve, this one not too pleasant of a note to come back on for me. Tough one tonight in Detroit, and we got some other news to share that is not great, Bob.
Hey, yo, Johnny. Not great, Bob, is the appropriate lead-in to this episode here because a lot of not so great things happening here today during the game and, as you mentioned here, after the game.
Yeah, creeping concern, title of this episode, and very legitimate concerns, obviously voiced by Tony La Russa after the game regarding Carlos Rodon. We'll get into that update in a second. Listeners, make sure you visit OnTapSportsNet.com for all Chicago sports, literature, and podcasting needs. Give us a follow on social media at Sox on Tap, at OnTapSportsNet. When you need White Sox merch from Grandstand is the place to go. Go visit them right by the ballpark, 35th and Wallace. Shop online, grandstandsox.com, and hit them up on social media at Grandstand Sox. So, Steve, we need to get right into this because the news that is hot right now is Carlos Rodon wasn't right exiting the game after just 3 innings tonight. You and I kind of commiserated briefly about this right before we jumped on, but let's open it up for full discussion here now.
This is really a big problem. Simply put, I don't know how deep of a run this team realistically can make in October without a healthy, functional Carlos Rodon. We saw in the first half of the season just how effective he was and how good he was with his fastball command, being able to utilize his slider to complement the fastball. He's dealt with some lingering shoulder issues here now for the better part of 6 weeks, and every time he comes back, has one start, and you think, okay, we're going to just gradually build him back up here, and we're going to have him ready to roll for the postseason. Get another setback right now. And it's really kind of getting to the point here where you have to almost look at it as if they're just not going to have a fully functional Carlos Rodon ready for the postseason here that starts in, just a little bit over 2 weeks. So this is really a major concern for this team now going forward here.
Yeah, right. So the official word from Tony La Russa says, like I mentioned, reported soreness and said he wasn't right after the 3rd inning. La Russa says that Los will need to be examined and reassessed, but at this point, it's doubtful he pitches next week. So just that builds on just what you were talking about there. That should be a preparation scenario where you're, thinking about going into the playoffs without Carlos Rodon. That brings up a point that I was, just talking to you about, and that's you're looking at a Dylan Cease start then in Game 3, most likely. That is a little bit scary. I know Dylan Cease has some excellent stuff. He has some strikeout swing, swing and miss ability in that arm of his. But at the same time, he's also prone to the big innings. Still a young guy coming into his own as a pitcher. His first full season, really, in the bigs here this year, and that's a big stage for him to be put on. And like you mentioned, are you staving off elimination at that point? Say you lose the first 2 in Houston, back home in Chicago, best of 5 series. That could be the last one, a do or die game.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, Johnny. I think the fact of the matter is with Dylan Cease, we've all seen the flashes of potential here this season, and he has overall taken some steps forward significantly over where he was his first 2 seasons in Chicago pitching for the White Sox. But the fact of the matter is from start to start, we still don't really know which Dylan Cease we're going to get. And as you alluded to there, he can go out there and he can have 9 strikeouts in 5 innings, but he'll have that 1 inning where everything just kind of gets out of sync a little bit. And next thing you know, 3 or 4 runs are on the board. And in October, when you got to win every single game there, that could be the difference between this team continuing to play or sitting on their couch and having an early exit in the postseason. And that's where I think it's really going to be very important now. And I think it goes without question at this juncture. This rotation now is going to be lining up. You got Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito, games 1 and 2. I think there was a lot of question about that for maybe the last couple of weeks, people wondering if Carlos Rodon was fully healthy and ready to go. Would he maybe slide into one of those 2 games right there? But I think at this juncture here, it's pretty clear what the rotation is going to be lined up as at this point. And this is where you're going to need your 2 big horses and your 2 big guys that want to be at the top of this rotation here. They're going to have to step up, and they're going to have to find a way to win a game on the road in Houston so that you're not staving off elimination with Dylan Cease there at home in Game 3.
Yeah, right. And we were thinking ahead here. Obviously, this news just dropping on us like a bomb here right after the game. So we wanted to get to that first and foremost. But there is plenty else that is going on in White Sox land here as we're still in the news department. Adam Engel expected to be activated tomorrow. And speaking of tomorrow, Tuesday's game, the 21st of September, it will not be the 21st night of September. It will be a matinee afternoon start. That was pushed up due to inclement weather in the forecast around Detroit. 12:10 p.m. Central Time start tomorrow, that Tuesday, September 21st. So that's it for the news here. I guess the other thing is, this is one thing that it's getting old for White Sox fan to hear this, but Cleveland did lose 2 today. They lost a pair, doubleheader to the Royals. So magic number is at 2. We were hoping if it looked good early for the Sox, that magic number might be at 1. Clinching scenario might be in the cards tomorrow. But if they were to clinch tomorrow, that would be because a Cleveland lost. And that would also mean rain is holding out in Cleveland there too, because they're playing that series there. And weather is supposed to impact that whole area. So we'll see what happens there. But the White Sox magic number is at 2. That does it for the news here, Steve. Let's get into this game. Initial thoughts from what you saw tonight in a 4-3 loss to open this series at Detroit.
Well, as we talked about early on, Carlos Rodon just simply didn't have it today. You kind of see from the outset, really, he did not have the normal zip on the fastball that we have grown accustomed to seeing here this season, and just a lot of deep counts. Was really struggling to put guys away. He did rack up, I want to say it was 5 or 6 strikeouts in the So he did have the 6 strikeouts in the 3 innings, but he was working a lot of deep counts there. I think at one point he had 6 3-2 counts on maybe the first 9 or 10 hitters of the game. So just really putting himself in a position to not be able to go deep. And you could just see he did not have that hard biting slider tonight to be able to complement the fastball, which was down from a velocity standpoint. He was sitting 92, 93 consistently. Did see him ramp it up to about 96 on a couple of occasions, but the slider just wasn't there to give him that complimentary second offering. And that really made him essentially a one-pitch pitcher tonight with that decreased velocity. You could see the results just really weren't there. And now we simply know why.
Yeah, exactly. Steve, you hit all the points I was going to talk about. I was going to say fastball, velo down, kind of riding in the low 90s there. I think he pumped it up to 95 one time, maybe hit 96 on one occasion. 195 mile an hour one was a nice strikeout. He did paint bottom inside quarter of the zone. But other than that, that's about the best that you saw. Like you mentioned, the slider not crisp tonight. So that's not going to turn out well in his favor. Overall, though, when he did leave the game, was tied fair 3-3 there. Unfortunately, 1 run. You allowed 3 runs total, but only 2 of them earned. We will get into another topic of why that run was unearned there. But other than that, initial thoughts from this one, Jose Abreu resting tonight. He's banged up all over the place. He's played, the majority, almost every single game this season. But, at some point he needs to rest. And with the White Sox on the verge of clinching here, it's probably about time that he gets a day or 2 of rest every once in a while. So that was the other thing here. And I guess the next thought that I have is, subtraction by addition. 2 trade deadline acquisitions, Cesar Hernandez and Craig Kimbrell, not helping the White Sox one bit tonight. Go ahead and start with Cesar, because you just wrote about him for the website called OnTapSportsNet.com.
Yeah, pretty ironic that the day that I dropped my return piece, back into the social media Twitter sphere, talking about Cesar Hernandez, and really we're at a point now where we have to start questioning, and Tony La Russa is going to have to make a hard decision. Is this going to be the guy that's going to be playing second base come October 7th when the ALDS gets going? And we saw some really shoddy defense tonight from Cesar Hernandez, which was supposed to be his calling card. This is a guy that won a Gold Glove in the shortened season last year, and in the piece I wrote today, I talked about, surprisingly, his defensive metrics have actually picked up since the trade to the Sox, where he's worth 5 defensive runs saved in about the 6-week time frame, that's pretty elite level defense right there, despite not necessarily meeting the eye test. And the eye test really, once again, kind of showed that today with a couple of the boneheaded plays that he made out there. So this just kind of adds more fuel to the fire of, now with Adam Engel coming back tomorrow, probably seeing a vast majority of the time in right field, are we going to start to see Leury Garcia now shifting more of his playing time towards second base? And I think at this juncture, it's very hard to argue it right now.
Right. And I, I would love to see the White Sox have everybody going at full strength and everybody's looking good. And we have no concerns about this. And it's just throw your best nine out there and you can substitute in and have no problems. But it's kind of interesting now, Steve, me being a longtime Leury Garcia supporter, I see a lot of people now. They're on my side of the fence. It's, Leury needs to start at second base in the playoffs. Feel like you're there too now.
I will say this. I've been very back and forth on Leury. I certainly have had moments where my criticism has been pretty harsh towards him, admittedly. But there have also been a number of times where I've talked about the fact that he is really a good functional utility player. I just have a tendency to think that he probably does get a little too exposed if he is thrust into everyday action. But at this particular point in time right now, and the fact is, since August 1st, he's really been one of the most productive offensive players on the White Sox roster. And Tony La Russa is a guy that loves to ride the hot hand. So at this point, Cesar Hernandez, if he's not going to give you any value defensively, he's giving you nothing with the bat. What is the calling card here? What is the reason for him to be out there getting a majority of the playing time at second base when Leury Garcia, despite some of the issues that he has had defensively at second base, the bat is getting the job done right now. And you've got to be at least positive on one side of the baseball, and Leury's doing that.
Right, and Leury goes and stretches. I think that it's important to remember because he's in the midst of a hot stretch right now, and it's great. You love seeing the value. You love seeing he's putting the ball out of the yard a little bit. That walk-off against Boston last Sunday. That was nice to see, and he had home run, I believe, on the Friday night game too. So getting a little more pop out of the bat and a little bit more consistency. Slash line's looking good over the last month or so for Leury there. But yeah, going to be very interesting decisions here. And let's not put the cart ahead of the horse here. There is still, a little over 2 weeks left of action here in this regular season here, right around 2 weeks here. So we'll be very interested to see. Go check that article out on tapsportsnet.com. It's about the Keystone Conundrum in our White Sox section there regarding Cesar Leury. And then what returns of guys like Adam Engel and Andrew Vaughn mean for deployment in those situations. So you can go check that out once again on tapsportsnet.com. Well, let's get into the game a little bit here. White Sox go up in the top of the third, string together a little bit of Moncada, RBI grounding into a force out, but it brings a run home after the Sox had loaded him up. Goodwin starting that off with the walk of his own. Anderson at the single and Robert being hit by the pitch to set that up. And then Yasmani Grandal hit the ball over the park. If he's not walking, he gets sack fly driving that second run. And then Eloy puts one out to right center off the wall. 3-0 White Sox at this time. Feel good at the top of the third. That wouldn't last long, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, that was really a pretty nice rally from the Sox overall, seeing them string together a number of hits. And the one big takeaway that I had during that inning was the opposite field RBI double from Eloy. Hopefully that was the thing that was going to get him turned around. We've all talked about and we've all seen the numbers here. He's really been in the midst of a funk probably for about, the last 3 or 4 weeks at this juncture. And he's a guy that typically when he gets going, it usually starts with him driving the ball up the middle in the opposite way. So the hope is that maybe that is the thing that kind of gets his timing back a little bit and gets him back to being that middle of the order thumper that this team really needs right now.
Yeah, right. And this is kind of a show littered with a lot of negatives, and it sucks. If the tone's always a little bit more dampened after a loss here, but I do want to sprinkle in a few positive notes here, just like you mentioned there. You explained the tactical stuff very well, but regarding Eloy Jimenez here. Getting going a little bit, like you said, driving the ball the other way or back up the middle, that can help get him in there. If he gets back into a rhythm here, and first of all, let's take a step back. That ball is probably out at multiple ballparks throughout here. I'd like, Steve, I would love to be able to generate it in like live time and see the chart. I know they do on the broadcast every once in a while, but see which, how many ballparks and where that would have landed at in comparison to Guaranteed Rate Field or where have you. I think that'd be a home run at Houston too. So if we're talking about playoff series, that's a 2-run shot by Eloy Jimenez there, right?
Absolutely. Detroit, that right center field gap, that's one of the biggest power alleys in the entire league. So I feel pretty confident that's most likely a home run in 29 other parks, maybe 28 after spending the weekend down at that warehouse down in Arlington, Texas. I don't know, maybe that ball doesn't get out of there, but pretty much the vast majority of the parks across the league, that ball's gone.
Right, so we can take a positive from that. Eloy, starting to hit for a little bit, not the home run. I think everybody, we want to see it, and I think there has been one since calendar turned to September here, which is unfortunate, but he was pretty hot for a stretch there. So once again, going with our theme of guys going in stretches and missing time with the injury. I don't expect him to be right up there mashing every single day of every single contest that the White Sox play here. So that might be a step in the right direction for Eloy Jimenez. But like I'd mentioned, this wouldn't last long. Tigers would tie it back up with 3 runs of their own in the bottom of the third. And as I alluded to earlier, 2 of them were earned, 1 unearned. Let's just get right into Cesar Hernandez. What the hell was going on here? I was a little distracted here, so walk me through a little bit. I know there's a diving play up the middle. That one is, kind of in between. You don't know if that's expected to be made or maybe at least knocks it down. But then the next one, the fielder's choice, along with an error to go with it for Cesar. That was just brutal. So go ahead and give thoughts on it, especially since that's your point of focus here today.
My reaction when I saw that, I literally tweeted, "What in the fuck?" I don't know what he's trying to accomplish in that play right there. You've got to get at least 1 out in that circumstance. The overwhelming likelihood is you're not going to turn the double play. So you have to find a way to get 1 out. Either go make the tag on the base runner or just walk it over to second base. Get 1 out in that particular spot. You can't walk out of that situation without getting a single out and allowing the base runners to advance, because ultimately that opened the floodgates to that inning, allowing Detroit to tie it. So just from a mental aspect, I don't know if maybe he was flustered because of the fact that he didn't get to that ground ball up the middle, the previous hitter. Maybe it was in the back of his mind right there, and he was just trying to do too much to maybe make up for that play right there, thinking, hey, I can tag this base runner here and then try to get a quick throw over to first and get a double play and help us, get closer to getting out of the inning. But you have to ensure that you get at least 1 out in that spot. He just didn't do it, and it was brutal.
Yeah, no, an interesting situation there on that play, that fielder's choice we're talking about. That was because as he's coming in front of the bag there, that's where the runner needs to go, starts backing up a little bit. So what does he do? He tags him with the glove, but the ball is in the hand. So it looks like he was ready to throw. At that point, like you'd said, walk it over second base. If Tim Anderson's there, give it a little flip there. And if you just get the 1 there, at least, maybe the situation, it doesn't change too much with the end result there. But I think I think Benetti put it well. It looked like Williamsport out there. It looks like that was turning into not the good kind, Little League Baseball, definitely at play there. You have a feeling that Cesar maybe getting in his own head a little bit, maybe frustrated by his struggles at the plate. So got to respond. That's the task for Cesar Hernandez down the home stretch. I'd be remiss, though. I'm not taking blame off Cesar Hernandez because that was a rough play, just rough to watch, probably rough for him to digest in the dugout. But Carlos Rodon did not set himself up for success in this inning because leadoff man drew a walk and then allowed a single, back-to-back singles right after that. The second one being that ball up the middle that we were talking about with Cesar. So, could be different if, say, you get the first out and then you start, if someone gets on, then it's a little different. Because then if you get that ground ball up the middle, say Cesar stops it, then you could be looking at a highlight reel double play. So just wanted to point that out. That is where Rodon's night would kind of start to come to a quick end there. So he would come out. And overall, though, one, talked about having some positives here. Bullpen for the most part until we get to the back end. Let's just focus on some middle guys here. Jose Ruiz for 2, no damage. Crochet, 1-2-3 inning of his own. Burr, 1-2-3 inning of his own with 2 strikeouts to boot there. So middle guys here, let's save the last one. We know what happened there. We'll get to that in a second. But middle guys, at least this offers a little bit of hope for other, maybe other outings that have been shaky for some of these guys.
You're right, Johnny. And a couple of guys I want to really highlight there. Jose Ruiz, he's a guy that's really been much maligned throughout a good portion of the season by segments of the fan base. And I know our buddy Tony certainly has some very strong opinions on Jose Ruiz, but the fact of the matter is Ruiz has done, I would say, a pretty solid job being a low leverage reliever. Tony gave him an opportunity to pitch himself into some higher leverage situations, and things didn't pan out, and that's okay. Needing guys to be, that first arm out of the bullpen in a close game, that stuff is important, and Ruiz has done a pretty solid job in that particular role right there, and so there is value to that. And Garrett Crochet really quietly in the last 6 weeks or so has thrown the ball surprisingly well. If you go back and if you look, I know Sox Machine P. Knowles actually put a tweet out there earlier tonight kind of talking and breaking down some of the numbers that he's had over the last 6 weeks. He's just been going out there and just burying guys and doing it really quietly, and I think we've really gotten collectively as a fan base hung up on the decline in velocity from him here this season that we're overlooking the just general effectiveness that he has been able to provide to this team in a much needed spot.
Yeah, right. I'd add on with that. You don't need to throw 101 to get out. It looks cool. It's cool and tough. Don't get me wrong. It's sweet when the radar gun pops triple digits. I love it. Don't get me wrong. But at the same time, for the longevity of his arm and, just doing what you need to do, get out of an inning, maybe pitching contact, using the slider a little bit more. That thing's not getting up to 100 miles an hour. I would agree that it's, not something that should be underappreciated just because he's not throwing as hard as he did in his rookie, very brief rookie season there. So that does it for kind of the middle, maybe the last of the good here until we look ahead to future games here. White Sox with a couple of very minor opportunities in the middle innings here, but never able to string anything together like they did in that third inning. And then we get to the eighth, and Craig Kimbrell looks like he's going to roll just like the other guys in the bullpen did tonight, Steve. 2 outs right away. Believe both those are strikeouts as well. And then he hits better. That's Grossman. You can live with that. It's okay, but you don't want to open it up. Of course, what does he do? Steals second, and Kimbrell throws a wild pitch on that. Not that it would have mattered. I think Grossman would have been safe anyway. But after that, RBI single for let's see, in that situation, I honestly, it doesn't even matter. Kimbrell put himself in that spot, RBI single when against the lefty there, when you had righty on deck there. Interesting spot here for Craig Kimbrell, ends up getting the loss because of this. White Sox drop the game, aren't able to do anything in the top half of the ninth. Kind of more of that subtraction by addition. It's getting a little worrisome. Craig Kimbrell is one of them creeping concerns, and unfortunately, it has been most of his outing since he came over.
Craig Kimbrell simply has not been good since maybe his first 2 or 3 appearances for the Sox. I know everyone likes to look at that that home run he gave up at Wrigley on that Friday afternoon game. The Sox eventually came back and won. But maybe the first 7 to 10 days or so, he was throwing the ball pretty well, and that really has not continued forward here. One thing of particular note to me tonight was he also had a noticeable downtick in his velocity. He was only sitting about 93, 94 with the fastball, and that's a guy that you're used to seeing 96 to 98. So if there's a downtick in velocity there, given some of the command issues that he's had, that's really compounding some of the problems that we've seen from him over the last month or so. And this is a guy that ultimately they need to find a way to get right going into October, because he has the upside and the talent to be a difference maker in the back end of a bullpen. We've all known and we've all seen over the course of his career just how good he is and how effective he can be, but he's simply not getting the job done right now. And they got to figure out what exactly the issue is here, and they got to do it quickly.
Right. And, if you look back to that Tampa series, if you remember that, he had talked about it being kind of a mechanical adjustment with him and said that he had, gone to school on the film, looked at that, fixed it, but not showing up in the results here. So I think that adds to our theme of creeping concern here. And it's even more than creeping. It's more at the forefront. I kind of did that because there is still a title that creeping concerns. There are still, a couple weeks here to figure out. But I feel like we've been saying that. We're like, oh, we got another month. Oh, we got another, however many games left to go and figure this out. Some of these problems don't look like they're on the track to being fixed here.
I agree. I've talked about this for quite a while now. And I think in baseball parlance, this is something that is frequently talked about. really the last 7 to 10 days before the start of the postseason, you really got to get things cranking. You really got to get things rolling on all cylinders. And I can't really think of one particular phase of the game right now that the Sox are operating efficiently here. The bullpen has been very up and down. The offense has been remarkably inconsistent. We've seen issues from the starting pitching and now the injury front here with Carlos Rodon. This team is, I've kind of said it seems like they're just sleepwalking and going through the motions for a little bit over a month now. We're getting to a point here where a switch does need to be flipped. They've got, I think it's 11 games left here in the regular season. It's time to start playing some crisp baseball, especially on the defensive front. We saw game 2 against Oakland last year, how defense can derail a game in October, and ultimately that can be the difference in the team's, season continuing or going home. And this defense right now is just playing atrocious, if we're being completely honest, and they got to figure that out.
Right. Yes. So very evident concerns there on the forefront. One thing, not to be Mr. Silver lining on the show, but if you are looking for something that is trending in the right direction, I would say obviously Yasmani Grandal. That's been a no doubter since he is returned from his knee surgery. That is, I think Benetti said it right tonight. He's probably the toughest out in baseball right now, and I'd agree because if you're leaving it out of the zone against him, he's just going to walk. Put it in there. Hey, you even put it outside like tonight, rope that double down the left field line. That's one thing that is very positive. So there is at least a constant in the middle of the lineup there. Other things too, though. This is kind of backtracking, not necessarily from tonight's game, but from over the weekend. Lance Lynn and Lucas Giolito looks like those injured list stints did them well, and obviously different things. It's not the arm for them. It was lower body stuff for those guys, but I think that rested them well in that if they, as long as you said, like you ramp it up, start putting together those crisp outings for those guys individually at the end here, you could have, a nice setup there and maybe a little extra rest, maybe a little extra juice for the postseason. So those two, at the top of the rotation there, and then he has money, and then I think Pito too. I think there's he was off tonight, the little bumps and bruises here, but at the end of the day, I think that guy's a warrior, and no matter what, he's not going to let anything keep him sidelined for too long. I would be shocked if he's not back in the lineup tomorrow. So those are my kind of last, if you're looking for one thing that is going the right direction, I agree. Overall, phases of the game, not great, but some individuals there. I just wanted to leave that. I don't know if you had any thoughts on that before we move on to the next game.
You pretty much hit everything spot on there. I have nothing further to add, Counselor.
All right, well, let's talk game 2 here. Like we mentioned, this game is bumped up. No longer 5:40 start on Tuesday night. It will be 12:10 Tuesday afternoon. So, get it in while you're at work. Throw on the headphones, listen to Len and DJ, or whatever you have to do. This one is bumped up now here. It will be Dallas Keuchel on the mound for the White Sox. Tyler Alexander for the Tigers here. White Sox magic number is at 2. So a win plus a Cleveland loss, if they play tomorrow, would be a clincher. How are we going to get there if we set it up, Steve?
Well, we've talked for several weeks now about Dallas Keuchel and the issues that he's had. He's just not really commanding much of anything, and he's getting knocked all around the park. This Tigers offense, they've proven to be pretty pesky here of late, winning games and winning series against Tampa, and then this game coming back here tonight from the 3-run deficit. Keuchel's got to go out there and he's got to find the strike zone. He's got to pound it from pitch number 1. He's gotten himself in trouble far too often in the last 2 months, working behind guys, walking guys, setting himself up for the big inning. So he's got to find a way to go out there. And we saw a little bit of a change to some of his pitch usage. His last start, really kind of ditching the cutter more, relying very heavily on the sinker. So it'll be interesting to see if he does that again. And on the offensive side of the equation, I'm looking to see some better at bats, because I think that the second half of this game here tonight, once Detroit tied the game, it's almost like this team just kind of put it on cruise control, and they were not working at bats and plate appearances very effectively. They were just going up there in hack mode, really, for lack of a better term, and the quality of the bats was piss poor. So got to clean that up here. Need to go out there and have a good, strong effort here and get a win tomorrow.
Right, and I'd say maybe exception there, as I was talking about earlier. Yasmani Grandal seems to do everything right as of late, and then I think Luis Robert had himself a couple of knocks as well, even after that whole kind of shit show in the bottom of the third. So, gonna be interesting to see Tyler Alexander on the mound for the Tigers. Like I mentioned, 2-3, 4.13 ERA, 70 Ks on the year, lefty. So righty bats back in it. I would say Pito, and if we're gonna start here with picks to click, I'll just go with that. I'm gonna say he's in the lineup. If he's not for that soreness, I'll go with another righty bat that I just mentioned too, Luis Robert.
Well, since Tony, kind of let the cat out of the bag that he's expected to be activated tomorrow, lefty on the mound, I assume he's going to be in the lineup. So, Mr. Dump Truck himself, Adam Engel, you are the man.
Yes, sir, Steve. This. Man, it's tough when we're talking about these losses. Things get so down, but you know what? At the same time, there's going to be a day whether it's tomorrow night if Cleveland does play, or if it's Wednesday afternoon and the White Sox say Cleveland gets rained out or whatever, and they have to play doubleheader. It won't even matter. Say the White Sox take care of business tomorrow night. They go out, have that extra hunger on Wednesday night. We're going to be celebrating a division championship at some point here. So I know we can't rest on our laurels. October is more important here, but hey, I think that's an accomplishment that we can all look forward to if you're looking for something to not be down in the dumps about here right now.
You're 100% right in that fact, Johnny. I have said for a long time, and a lot of people will scoff at this statement, but I personally think that winning a division title in baseball is the most challenging thing to do from a regular season standpoint in professional sports, just given the sheer volume of games that you have to play. A lot of things can go wrong over the course of 162 games. We've seen it with this team, and they have been able to overcome and persevere through that. The fact of the matter is that this will only be the White Sox 6th division title in the over 50 years of divisional play. So do not take this for granted. Do not take this lightly. We have not seen this as a fan base since 2008. That was a long time ago. I was just a young man. I had no gray hair at that point. So these things, they should be cherished when they happen. Celebrate them because we haven't seen too many of them, and I know I'm going to be very appreciative of it when that moment finally does happen here at some point this week.
Right. Regardless of all sort of recent negative trends that seem to be coming up and concerns regarding postseason, all very legitimate, and it's still fine to hold those. But at the same time, you would be missing out and you'd be doing a disservice to yourself and your fandom for investing so much time and money. If you go to games, and merchandise, whatever it may be, if you are not celebrating this and embracing it when it does happen. Obviously, number at 2, so could be Wednesday is what we're looking like, or tomorrow night if that game gets in. I don't know if that's going to work because I did not see a reschedule announcement from Cleveland. They haven't moved up their game like the Sox and Detroit did, unless I'm just missing it here. But as of right now, that's still slated for a night game. So will be interesting to see when this thing actually does happen. But you bet your ass we're going to have a Sox on Tap party to celebrate that here. And we'll do it live, do some crack action here. So can't wait for that when it finally comes. But at the same time, got to get to that point first. Got to earn it, win a couple more ball games. And Steve, last thing, I would love to do it with a win. I know we could do it with the Cleveland loss here. It's just so much nicer when you're doing it with a win. And my last thing, I guess, is if you are able to, get a win tomorrow, regardless of what happens in Cleveland Tuesday night, it will be a matinee on that finale in Detroit. For that Wednesday game that was already scheduled for on a getaway day, 12:10 start. It's going to feel like 05 if they do it then. Remember that afternoon game at Detroit?
I do, and I'll tell you a little funny story about that. So I was 21 years old during the 2005 season, and I was in college at the time working part-time as a bank teller. And I had some odd shifts that I worked. That particular day, when they clinched in Detroit, I had to work a 4 to 8 shift. So I was able to watch the game, start at 12:10, very similar to this, and I got to watch them clinch the division. And then 5 minutes after, I watching the celebration, I had to leave to go to work, and I was jacked up all fucking day. Everybody was asking me, they're like, "Why are you in such a good mood?" I'm like, "Because the Sox are going to the playoffs, baby, and they're going to win this whole fucking thing." So I remember it. It's one of those memories that is burned into my brain. I remember Paulie catching, jumping about a quarter of an inch off the ground there to catch that low liner off the bat of Placido Polanco that Bobby Jenks hit. And, going back and just hearing the radio call, John Rooney saying it's a White Sox winner and a Central Division title. It's one of my happier memories as a White Sox fan, and hopefully we get another one of those here the next day or two.
Yes, absolutely. The little quick story regarding possible clincher, since it is coming up here, last year when the White Sox were on the verge of clinching that playoff spot in that series against the Twins, if you remember, it was a 4-game set on the South Side. They won games 1 and 2. Game 3, they would have won that. It was a night game on a Wednesday, I believe. That would have been the clincher. Tony and I were watching together. Tony on tap, our guy. Over at his house in the garage, we were all ready. I brought a bottle of champagne over. We had the beer stock loaded. Unfortunately, White Sox not able to get it done that night. We couldn't meet up for that Thursday game. It was a day game anyway. They go and clinch there, so we said, okay, we're going to save that bottle for when they clinch the division, if they clinch the division. That never came to fruition thanks to the last week and a half collapse there that ensued after they clinched the playoff spot. That bottle of champagne is still sitting on Tony and Tap's fridge in his garage on top of it. I think I'm gonna have to go over there, rescue it as soon as whenever it happens. I'm gonna pop it open. I don't care how nasty it is.
Johnny, here's what I'm thinking we need to do. I'm thinking we need to get the 4 of us together, and I think we need to go out, in the garage at Tony's, and I think we need to celebrate this thing appropriately, because as I talked about, division titles don't come along for this team very often. It's been a wild ride this year with the 4 of us going through and analyzing and breaking down all of these games. Maybe that's the place. Maybe we hold off until Friday. Look, I'll leave that to you and Tony to decide that. If you guys want to pop that thing open the day that it gets clinched, certainly that's your prerogative. But I think in some way, shape, or form here, a group celebration of this division title needs to take place.
Right, absolutely. And you know what the thing is? That was just for me and him when we had planned that. So we're going to need extra bottles of champagne if we have more people anyway. So everyone bring their own. I think that's the best. Go right on the driveway. Let's pop that shit open and go nuts when it does happen. We're getting ahead of ourselves here. Can't wait until that happens, but we're not there officially yet. We're on the verge, as Tim Anderson said. We all know it. We all know it's going to happen. It's inevitable, but at the same time, we got to keep grinding. Keep grinding every day. So we'll keep grinding here at Sox on Tap. Hopefully the White Sox get themselves back on track tomorrow. Show crisp, outing and give us a little more hope as things progress towards the playoff. It will be interesting. I think we'll be having a discussion tomorrow. I would say that Raylo probably looks better at this point overall right now for a 4th spot. But hey, Dallas Keuchel, hey, guess what? You have an opportunity. If you know the news about Carlos Rodon now, shit, it's your time to step up and own it. Not going to say I'm confident that will happen, but it is a door that has been opened. So something to watch for also added tomorrow, maybe a little extra fire in Dallas Keuchel's game. So we shall see what happens. That does it for tonight's show, though. Listeners, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're visiting ontapsportsnet.com for all Chicago sports literature and podcasting needs. Follow us on social media at Sox on Tap, at OnTapSportsNet. And go to Grandstand whenever you need White Sox merchandise. It's right by the ballpark, 35th and Walls. You can shop online, grandstandsox.com. Find their new releases on social media at Grandstand Sox. Steve, hit me with some final words, and let's get the hell out of here.
Right the ship. Let's get it done tomorrow. Division title. It's close. Let's go.
All right. I love it. Couldn't set it better myself. Need crisp baseball down the stretch, and let's start cleaning up the defense because that is something that you can pretty much control almost all the time unless the ball bounces off the top of the base like it did down Tampa Bay. But other than that, you should be able to control pretty crisp defense. So that's about it. White Sox forever.
White Sox for life.